Well, hello everyone. It's Joni here at Joni's Journals, and I am here back with you for another Creep on June make. Okay, what I've done in lieu of making another one with you is I am just showing you what I have done for day 5. And I have simply, if you can see, it's a trifold tag. And what I've done is I once again have made an upside down tag, and I have taken some of the demons whose photos are in the kit, and I have put them behind metallic cardstock frames that I've cut from a die. And I have also added some of the Nouveau Crystal Glaze to their eyes to make them look a little bit spookier. However, just the same as when I put the moss on Frankenstein's head, this one turned out goofy looking because to me, he doesn't look scary like his eyes are glowing in the night. It looks more like he has on a pair of sunglasses. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this. I did the upside down tag. I've added the eyelets to the bottom, and I've looped through some of the Tim Holtz, mummy cloth. I think it's the mummy cloth. And you can see it shreds up, so it makes it look a little bit spookier. And on the back is where I've added my poem and also some more photos that are quite apropos to the poem. The poem is, "The spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still." So yeah, I've added some little of the that pen, the one I use, the Wink of Stella, the little glitter pen, in certain areas. I did it here on the zombie to try to accentuate those little raw skin bloody parts on his face to just make him look a little bit spookier. So yeah, I just figured, with that being a simple make, and with me having used something that not everybody might have, I thought it might be better to just show you what I made instead of making it with you, and you might feel left out if you don't have the frames. So yeah, here's just one more look. My spooky guys, and of course my skeleton demon with his sunglasses. And yeah, so that is what I made for day 5. I did add this little gold bead dangle. It's something I actually found on the street in the parking lot. And I said, wow, if I take that apart, that'd be pretty cool to use the pieces parts for a dangle. So yeah, I used it because it's red and we have our bloody little guy here. So that was my day 5. Now, what I do have that we can craft together is my day 6. Now, the day 6 comes with this little card, and it also comes with a double tag and a pocket. So what I have done is I have taken, you're going to have to kind of ignore this part because what I did when I started out was I cut the two halves apart, and then I kind of had to make a page, like a binder to keep them back together. What I've done is I've taken the pocket as is, and I have played around with the tags and some of the photos. I have this guy stuck in here because today's poem is "Shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token. Show how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries." So I took this to, I kind of took a little bit of a, what's that called? Poetic license. And I thought of the moon glow and how it glows at night and kind of shadows and hangs on the trees. So yeah, each of the little photos that I use has the moon in it. So let me show you how we can make this, or how you can make this. I did glue the poem, and you can see I put my little number 6. I've chosen to handwrite my numbers this year. Last year I actually die cut a bunch of numbers, but that die that I used, I've been having problems with. And so I just figured I'll just write my numbers this year. But what I did was I glued the poem. I had to cut everything down a little to the back of this picture of Frankenstein, because as you know, he's sort of my theme for this year's Creep on June. So let's get to making one of these, okay? So I have all my photos pulled out, and I have a couple of nights. I'm reading this. The token of the night is the moon, and I put the moon glow hangs upon the trees. It's the token of the night. That's where I got the whole idea for the using the moon as the symbol for the shadowing and the hanging on. So I do have a note on the back of this little one, so I don't want to throw them away. So that's why I kept them both. What I've done is I have taken the card that comes with the kit, okay, and I have folded it in half. And I have also created, because I wanted to kind of use this, a couple of months ago, I think it was, I made a multi-pocket journaling spot created by an idea that I got from Cara Renee Wolf of Be Reborn Art and Healing. And so I was kind of using that as my play on how I would make my little journaling spot. And so I've taken two pieces of white cardstock, which will get glued into the center here once we put the whole thing all together. And that's what my little note was for. These cards are 5 1/4 inches high by 3 inches wide. Now, of course, if you play with the sizes of your bases and your photos like I usually do, yours may be a different size. But I've cut them to be 5 1/4 by 3 inches. One is actually a little bit smaller than the other because my paper trimmer got stuck, and so I had to recut it. And then I've just inked it using Vintage Photo and archival ink in jet black. All right, so I'm just going to put that to the side. And again, I have my little phantom, and to probably cut down on very little time, but I've glued my monster to the back of my poem already, okay? And I have my tag ready to go. And I also have my front pocket tag and the little photo that I used. I've made the measuring lines, but I'm going to show you how I did that, okay? Because as you can see, I kind of had to cut them on an angle. And because I wanted everything to be symmetrical, I had to cut them using this form, using this shape of the pocket. So let me just put that aside again so I can show you what I did. I simply took my pocket, very simple, and I laid it on top of my tag. I decided how big I wanted my pocket to be from using the tag, and I laid my pocket down on it. And now I'm seeing that it might actually be a little bit crooked. So let's see. Let's just... You know what? We're going to make this pocket a little bit shorter because now that I see that it is a little bit slightly crooked, I am going to remeasure. Okay, well, this is an opportunity for you at least to see how I did it. And so I just laid my pocket down, and I used this angle, and I copied the angle onto my tag using my black, this is a flare pen. I don't know how popular they are anymore, but I used to use them when I was a kid for coloring and drawing, and I just absolutely still love them. So I measured that, okay, and my pocket is still going to be just about the right size, even though I had to redo it. And I did the same thing on my photo. Now, in this case, I went as close to the top as I could, still keeping my moon quite visible. And let me just make sure that I've got this one straight, because now that the other one was crooked. All right, let's see. I'm lining it up with the score lines because I've already scored my pocket, so I can tell if my edges are straight. And again, this one's a little bit crooked. So I think what we'll do is we will just realign this one. I'm going to lay this down flat. Okay, and holding on to it. And I'm still just above the moon in the sky there. And so I'm just, again, I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to go around. Now you're not really going to see the marker because we're going to cut right on that line. And I measured to make sure that I have the right angle again. Now I'm going to take out my little mini trimmer, okay, because I don't need the big mamma jamma. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut down, well, down along this line here, now that I've had to cut a new one. And I'm just going to make a straight cut across the tag because we're going to have to use our scissors to cut that angle in. I could probably do it on my trimmer. And you know what? Let's try. I'm just afraid. No, you know what? I'm going to use my scissors because I'm afraid that if I do it that way, it's going to slip in the trimmer and then I'm not going to have the picture. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing on our tag. We're going to line it up and we're just going to cut down across that straight line. Okay. So now we have our pocket, our second pocket, and we have our third pocket. And they do kind of fit. I may want to trim a little bit off the side of this one. So let's just do that because I want them to be centered on top of each other on that larger pocket. So we've just trimmed, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch maybe. And let's see, is that going to be good enough? Yeah, that's going to center it right on that pocket. Okay, so we have this pocket. Now we just want to make sure that this pocket is going to fit nicely in the center of this pocket, and it will. Okay, great. So we'll put away our little trimmer, and we are just going to take our scissor, and remember, this is the line I want to cut on. And I'm just going to cut on that line there just to get that angle to match up with the angle of my pocket. And you can see that, yes, my angles are even. Now, I am thinking that perhaps I might want to cut a little off the bottom of this pocket so that, again, it will be centered onto my bigger pocket. So you can see this is basically how I go about doing things when I'm designing a make. I kind of just do it, you know. It's sort of like, okay, well, we need to trim a little bit off there and a little bit off there. Okay, now is that that will give me a nice amount for all of the edges to show, and I can probably slide it down a little bit more so that it's a little bit more centered. See? We have the little gap between the pocket and the pocket that we just created. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check to make sure that this piece is the right size too. So I am going to cut along the line that we did together as straight as can be, which for me is always a difficulty. And then we're just going to make sure, does this pocket fit on here nicely? And it does. It's centered, so we're good. Okay. Excuse me, I'm still kind of getting over the cold, which I am beginning to believe is more of an allergy than anything else. All right, so we're going to need to ink up these edges. I'm just going to move that out of the way because now we've cut all our edges off and we need to make sure that they're all inked evenly because we want this to be spooky, if anything. So we're just going to ink around here. And you can see I use the vintage photo first, and I kind of bring that in off of the edge of the photo to try to give it that, like, I don't know, not misty, but, you know, like faded, grungy look that you might have on an old photo perhaps, or something that's been being stored in your attic over periods of time. And so, yeah, so I'll just do those edges. I like to get rid of the white, so I'm just going to ink this really quickly. And we're going to, what did I do with the cover? You would think that I would put it on the ink stand like it's supposed to. And then let's grab this, and I'm going to grab my archival ink, in jet black, and then I am just going to, isn't that a great pad? It's like a Jagunta thing. And then I'm just going to do the edges with the black so that it gives that smoky kind of faded look. And I'll catch up the corners a little bit more than just the plain edge. So yeah, okay, so we've got that one done. And then we'll just grab back our third pocket, and we'll do the same thing here. Bring it in on the edges. I do like to bring it in a little on the corners when I have a photo or a picture or an image, I should say, that might have black up in the corners of it. I bring that black a little bit further into the image so that it will accentuate what's already there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is my black little, what do you call it, dauber seems to be shedding off. Now I have made these more of a tuck than a pocket, just kind of going along with the way that you can put stuff in and out of here. So I'm only going to glue down this side and glue down this side so that the whole thing is open over there. And now the one thing I neglected to do before I started my video was to make sure that my glue was working. All right, keep your fingers crossed, friends, and let's see. So we're gluing along the bottom. Oh, look at that. It's my lucky day. And we're going to glue along the side, the straight side of the pocket. Okay. And then we're going to kind of eyeball where we want this. I kind of want it further to the left so that we get that gap again between these two pieces. And let's make sure it's straight. I know I'm probably smearing glue all over the inside of this pocket, but that's okay because we're just using it simply as a tuck. And now we're going to do the same thing with this. Yep. See, that came out pretty cool. So we're going to go down the straight side and across the bottom to make it like a tuck. And there we go. Whoop. There we go. You can tell I do not have the steadiest hands. And is that actually straight? Probably off just a smidge, but it's, I might be able to, nope. All right, we're just going to go with it. All right, there we go. I did a video, it came out, I believe, Saturday, and I meant to do these videos yesterday, which was Monday, but my husband was home from work, and we opted to go out and get some stuff that we needed at the stores. And oh my gosh, it is so stinking hot here in Florida right now. And we are getting the Saharan dust, which, you know, never heard of it before till I moved to Florida. Apparently, the Sahara is close enough to us to make an impact. I'm not the best at geography. I do love history, but geography was never my best subject. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue our pocket to the front of our journal spot. Okay. And so I'm just going to grab my glue again, and I'm going to put a decent amount of glue on each of these flaps. I'm not showing you how to fold these. I normally would, but I wanted to make sure that everything was inked and ready for this. I just use my scoreboard and I move my little card around to find the proper spot so that I can make a score onto the pocket in the correct places. And I'm just folding this up. Okay, and let's just move it down. All right, so there we have our little pocket onto our journaling card. And I'm just going to take a couple of clips because I tend to print on heavy cardstock. Sometimes things don't bend and stay as nicely as they should when you first put them together. So I'm going to clip this together, and I'm just going to move on to show you some other portion of this. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to put it aside. It'll be done. It'll be ready for us in just a few minutes. And what I did simply with this was I put my photo on here. Again, it's the raven in the moonlight. And I kind of centered him on. I put him down near the bottom. I had all intentions of cutting out words. People are using the words that are coming on the game boards. I'm sure if you've already purchased the entire kit, you'll know that we have some games in the kit this year. We have vines and ladders. We have tic-tac-toe. We have checkers with the vampires versus dragons. So yeah, you might have seen my make for day one, which day one was Tracy, day two was me. If you haven't seen my day two, I will link the calendar again and the kit in the description box below the video. But yeah, I did. Tracy started off the collaboration making a Vines and Ladders game board. And then, of course, because I thought it was adorable, I just went along and copied everything she did. All right, now what I'm going to do is I am going to be very angry at myself because I can't reach my eyelids. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab out my crocodile, and I'm just simply going to punch a hole in this little tag, because that was, if you remember, that was my tag on my tag that I tucked into the big pocket. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to line this up in the center as best as I can, and I'm going to put a hole, okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on my tag. And do I have, there we go. I'm going to line it up in the center as best as I can, like so. And then we're just going to put a couple of eyelets in. Let's see what we have here. It's kind of dark in here today, although it's not really dark at my table, so I don't get too concerned. Trying to find, maybe I'll just use light gray. And these are We Are Memory Keepers eyelets that I purchased a while ago. Whoop. They work very well. I actually tried to find them. I have bought them from Amazon. I couldn't find them again on Amazon, and I haven't had a chance yet to look on either Simon Says Stamp or scrapbook.com to see if they have them. But I do like these. Okay, so we're putting our eyelets in our little tag. Oh, that's great. See, when I glued it last time, I glued it upside down. I wanted to glue this part because you have the big open area here where there are no words, and that's why I had a little bit of a problem reading it for you. But I glued it upside down, and then I couldn't put the eyelet in because Frankie would be upside down. All right, so there we go. We have all of our eyelets in our tags. And then all I'm going to simply do, close that before a disaster occurs, is just grab some of this hemp cord. I buy it at the dollar store or at Walmart, wherever I happen to be. I'm sure that if you're not in the United States, you have access to a cord that might be quite similar to that. And I just put my string through my little poem there, and again through my tag. This was a relatively simple make once I had figured out exactly how I wanted to do it. And then I just tie a knot. I loop the two pieces together. I did make sure that I had enough string on here so that when I put this into the pocket, that Frank would be able to hang down a little bit further so that it kind of looked like a double tag, if you know what I mean. I wanted him not to be stuck up on top. I wanted him to kind of hang freely on here. So we have that part done. Excuse me. We don't really need to do anything to him. All I really did was I inked around the edges the same way as I just showed you. And then we're going to bring this back, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're just going to glue our little journaling spots in here. Now, as I said, you can see one's a little bit bigger than the other. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not selling this. This is for me. And so, yeah, I made a boo-boo, and it's evident, but I don't really care. Again, like I always say, well, actually, I heard someone else say this, and I usually say I don't care if it's not perfect, but someone else, and I think it might have actually been Cara Renee. I've been watching her channel a lot lately, first of all, because I love her. She's such a calm, soothing person. But she also has an event going on right now. It's Spring there's an abbreviation for it. The hashtag is Spring JJ Joy 2025. And I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I did do a little journal the other day using an idea that I got from Julie at Camellia Crafts. And I'll bring it over in just a second. And we did it together. We created the journal, and I even got brave enough to sew in a signature with you guys. And although it wasn't perfect, it didn't go as bad as I thought it would. So yeah. Okay, so now all I do is I just make sure that these two lines are lined up and that they're straight across. So now we have our journaling cards inside of our pocket. And there we go. We can tuck Frankie and his tag in here. Okay. Like so. And I didn't think I never made anything to tuck in this pocket. Oh, right. Well, I'll just do it as a demonstration. Now, you can tuck our little Grim Reaper here. You could tuck him in this pocket like so. Or you can tuck him in this pocket like so. So either way, I mean, he's a little big for this pocket, but if you just wanted to see his face peeking out from the side there, that would be great too. So here we go. We have him. I actually, like I said, I created him to go, or I picked him to go in that pocket rather. And there you go. We have our day 6 journaling, multi-pocket journaling card inspired by Cara Renee at Be Reborn Art and Healing. Okay. Did I put anything on the back? Oh, I actually did glue a photo on the back. Now, I'll be gosh darned if I know where that photo went. Well, anyway, this is the one that I put on the back. Again, it's the Raven. And yeah, I don't know what I did with it. I bet you I moved it off my desk thinking there was too much on here. Okay, so there's our day 6 that we created together. And here's my day 5, which, like I said, was a very simple make. And yeah, if you have access to a die, or even if you have pre-cut die cuts, or if you have a digital, I know that Tracy has a digital that has frames in it, and I'll be darned if I can think of one off the top of my head. But yeah, if you're a Tracy collector like I am, I'm sure if you go through your kits, your digital kits, you'll be able to find a frame that you can cut out and do the exact same thing with. But like I said, it was easy. So I figured, number one, nobody would have this, and I didn't want anybody to feel bad. And number two, because it was so simple, I just thought that you guys could get a pretty good idea of how to do it on your own. Okay, so there you go, day 5. And I did add a little clip here because all of this bulk on the bottom kind of made it a little hard for the tag to stay closed. Day 5 and our day 6 that, well, this one doesn't have the back. Excuse me. So I know this is the one that we created together. Okay. And like I said, you could add a little word here, or even if you had a piece of Tim Holtz ephemera or one of Tracy's labels. Let's see if I actually have one of the labels available. And I do. So let's see. All right. Well, we could use this one and we could glue that on. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to take one of Tracy's. She has a new kit out. It's random labels. And so, yeah, I'm just going to pull this so that the knot's not in the way. And it's already inked because I was intending to use it for something else, but I'll just print it out again. And we'll just glue a label on here. So that'll kind of finish off the top of our tag like so. Fill up this little space here. And we could basically say, oh, well, it's maybe Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory notes. And yeah. All right, so there we go. So now we have something glued into that little space. Or you could feel free to leave it blank like I've done here. Or print out one of the games and use, I know that there are word searches with plenty of words on it that you could probably cut out and use. I've seen some of the ladies in the Foxy Crafters Facebook group actually doing that. All right, friends, well, there we go. That's our day 5 and our day 6. And let me just give you a quick glance at that journal. This is one of the journals that we were working on. I've decorated the outside and the inside of this one. This is, in fact, the one we sewed the signature into. Okay, and I will be back later this week, probably tomorrow. We're going to decorate the front of one of them. And also in that video, I will be giving you information about my 1,500 subscriber giveaway. Because I have finally, and I've gone over, and it's wonderful. I've hit 1,546 subscribers. So yeah, I want to say hello to all my new subscribers. And that's it. I guess we're done with this video for today. All right, guys? So I'm going to send you, oh my goodness, lots of love and big hugs, and ask you to please go to the calendar, go over, click on all of those dates. It's such a simple thing to use. You just hit on the date. It brings up the person who is the maker for the day, and they'll show you, yeah, it'll show you their name and their channel. It could be YouTube. It could be Instagram. I know some makers don't have a YouTube, but go over, subscribe, like, whatever you need to do to support them. All right? Lots of love, big hugs, like, subscribe, comment. It helps all of us. It brings us to the forefront of those YouTube, what do they call, biometrics. So yeah, okay? I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care for now. Bye.